Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every single one of you that come back every week to listen, learn, and grow. Now, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Not only am I talking to the one and only Big Sean, one of the most successful rappers out there, multiple #1 topping chart singles, albums on the Billboard. But what I'm fascinated about him is his dedication to personal growth, his journey with meditation, his focus on well-being, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And today we're going to talk about all of that right here on Purpose. Please welcome Big Sean.
Thank you, man. That was a great intro.
Well, it was from the heart, man. I feel it. Like when I started listening to your music, before I knew about your personal journey, I loved your music, and then I saw you start talking about, well, you were just speaking about the books you read, the mindset you have, the journey you've been on personally. And I thought, this is someone, even before we were connected, I was like, this is someone I really want to get to know, because it's not easy to talk about the things you talk about.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be vulnerable in your position with the career you have, in the way you have. And so I can't wait to dive into it today. But I was going to start with something a bit different, because we have a few more things in common.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere that you said that in another life, you might have been a film critic.
Yeah.
and I love that, because I love movies. So I was going to ask
too,
you.
Man. I don't pick them apart. You know, sometimes lately I've been watching movies just based on how it makes me feel. Like I take my critical hat off, and I'm just like, I enjoy the good story, or, you know, like the hero's journey, or just like, you know, great pieces, great shows, great plots. You feel me?
What's been a movie that you feel has like defined the way you think, or moved you in the way that you're speaking about right now, that left a lasting impact?
Forrest Gump, for sure. That's one of the ones that like struck me hard. The Matrix. I had like a special relationship with the Matrix because Neo's name was Mr. Anderson. So that's my last name too. So it always like struck a chord with me. Definitely, like I'm a big nerd. So I love like Batman. I love all Marvel, DC.
Me too.
Anime, Dragon Ball Z, Star Wars, Star Trek. That's something that really my brother kind of got me into early on. But what I connected with, like everything about those things, like Dragon Ball or like Star Wars, they all have to deal with like that power within. And I feel like that's why I connected to it so much. It would be like against all possible odds, they would dig deep and go to a new level that people, you know, not only did not expect them to, but was quote unquote impossible. You feel me?
Yeah.
So things like that just always connected with like, and I'm still the same way. It's like, you know, you think you're going to outgrow something, but I never outgrew it. And, you know, I don't care what people think. Sometimes, you know, my girl would be like, nerd. And I'll be like, yeah, whatever. Though.
It's who I am.
It's who I am.
Yeah, it's who I am. People don't expect it because, you know, you're fashionable and you got swag, and then all of a sudden you start talking about movies.
I can talk about it all day, but not just that. Like I said, great movies, they go hand in hand. Like when I'm in the studio creating, like I have it set up where it's like these screens, and I'll play like 2 movies at once sometimes just for aesthetic, not looking at them, but it's just, I love it, man.
Yeah.
That's like definitely a passion of mine for sure that maybe I'll tap into more later on in life, you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because I love writing. I love stories. I love all of that.
Yeah. Have you directed your own music videos as well, right?
Yeah, well, I have a best friend, Lawrence, who we actually did just start a production company, who's directed a lot of my big videos.
Yeah.
A lot of my big songs. We won some awards together and things like that. But for most of my life, music has always been my first priority, you know? But that is something that has also gotten me in trouble. You know, it's got me in trouble. And I'll explain that a little more, because being from Detroit, right? And I'm from a family where they were hard workers. My grandma was one of the first female Black captains in World War II. She was one of the first female cops in Detroit. And then later, she was done being a police officer. She was a teacher, a counselor. She was like a strong woman, you know? And my granddad, too, they met in World War II. And he has a similar story of just being so strong. And I come from a family where it's like hard work, you know, and everyone went to college and is educated. And I was kind of the first in my family to go on a different career path. You know, my mom used to always play all these like Motown, like she would play Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, all these the Isley Brothers, like all always in the morning. And I kind of fell in love with the music, you know. But my whole life, I remember when I was graduating high school and was graduating with a high GPA. I was on my way with a full scholarship to college, but I wanted to do music. I knew I wanted to do music. And every time I got excited about it, I could just tell that it was real, you know? Like I could just feel the connection. Like I don't care what anybody could tell me, like, nah, you tripping. Don't, like, man, you know, you're gonna be out here with living on the street, man. If you know, you gotta play it safe. You gotta have a backup plan and all that stuff. And obviously that is a way for a lot of people, but for me, it was like I put all my eggs in one basket, denied, you know, my scholarship.
Yeah, Michigan State.
Yeah, and it didn't work out at first. You know, it didn't work out for me. You know, I was like, and that was the first time in my life where I hit a very big wall of depression, a very big wall of anxiety, a very, you know, pivotal moment in my life where I just didn't even feel like living. And this, you know, not to be dramatic, I was 18 years old, you know, but they are defining moments in your life. And when you're around 17 or 18, because you were around the same time when you saw that monk speak,
yeah,
because I'm also reading your book, Think Like a Monk. And that's a pivotal moment, you know, coming out of high school, and all my friends went to college. I didn't go, you know, I ended up meeting Kanye West, right? Rapping for him. This was my idol. This was my number one person who I wanted to sign to. And I felt like I manifested that. And my mom is someone who introduced certain books to me that I was reading at the time. When I was around 17, she introduced me to Esther and Jerry Hicks and also The Secret, you know, The Secret. And, you know, she was like, you can do it. Like you can manifest it. And I just believed it.
I was going to ask you about that moment from a different angle. People have heard you tell the story, but the way you're talking about it today, and also I find like our generation today is so lost in like procrastination, overthinking, overanalyzing, but you just went there and showed up without knowing if it was going to go anywhere. Like you were ready to be rejected, ready to fail, ready for it to fall flat on your face.
Yeah, because it was like, I couldn't look back and wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda, man. I just couldn't. I just felt like, I don't know why, and that was one of the concepts for one of my albums, but I just don't know why I felt like I lived a life already and like regretted it. And I was like, I just felt that in my heart as a young, you know, as a teenager. So I was like, I gotta make it happen. Like that was just it. It was no other option, you know? And she presented these books to me, and it's like she's like a guardian angel. It feels like when I look back on it, it's like, man, I really am living with angels, you know, like my mom, my grandma, because they would give me books I would never read, you know, give me books, try and introduce me to meditation and all these things. But it was when I felt hopeless, you know, and I hate that it got to that point, but I was young too, you know, and I was like, I might as well just pick this book up. I might as well let me just see what's going on with this, because this has to work. And when you pick those books up and you crack it open, you realize that the book was talking to you. You realize that these books have energy and that it's attracting you. It's not just because for no reason. It's like it's literally there ends up in your hands because it's destiny, you know? Yeah. And that's one of the things I learned as soon as I cracked it open. I remember reading the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success and tearing up, you know? And I remember reading Asking It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks and like feeling my whole vibration change. And that is one of the most, that is the first time that I realized that there are two realities. There's a reality that we see with our eyes and our feel and touch. And then there is a reality just as real where it is our spiritual world that we can create and manifest. And that is the reality with a capital R. You know what I'm saying? That's the real reality that you bring to the other reality. And so anyway, I did these exercises, man. Like I only read books because I had to in school. That was like my thing. Like
I can relate.
And it was some good books, right? Like I remember we read Animal Farm, The Hobbit, all these great books that helped me, but I still never read on my own time. So these were the first books I read on my own time. I graduated high school. I ended up meeting Kanye right before I graduated high school. So I ended up rapping for him. It's a classic fairy tale hip hop story. You meet your idol, you rap for him, he hears you out. And I had been recording CDs since I was 11 years old, man. So I had been passing out CDs around school, selling them for $5, $3. I had been participating in open mics, battle rapping. I had gone to the radio station every Friday after school, even when, because when I turned 16, my grandmother had a stroke and she had a brand new car. So it was a bittersweet thing because it was tragic to see my grandma have a stroke, and the strongest woman I've ever seen literally get old instantaneously. And then I ended up getting a car, which provided me to get places that I needed to get to, to make the moves I was trying to make. Cause I had that hustler mentality. I was like, I had to do it. Eminem was the only rapper from Detroit at the time that was doing it big. And just to keep it real, I was like, I gotta represent for Black, you feel me? And be like, and put on for my city. And I just felt the responsibility, man. And I know I'm skipping around a lot.
That's all good, man. That's all good.
Yeah, but I would do this radio show every week. And that led me to meeting Kanye because he was at the radio promoting his album, Late Registration, at the time. And, I met him from doing the radio show there every Friday. I lied and said I left my phone in the back offices so they would let me in the back to go check because I knew that's where the artists would go. I got a chance to rap for him as he was walking out. He was like, I'm real busy.
How did you have the courage to do that? Because I feel like people probably see you and they're like, oh, I want to go rap for Big Sh-. Like, people want to repeat.
All the time.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you think you were able to even have the courage to be like, I'm just going to find a way in the hallway? Like, when he's walking, he's a busy guy.
Well, because when I did that radio show every Friday, we would rap on the air, on the radio.
Yeah.
That was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever had to do in my life. It would be like, oh my God, everybody who's listening to the radio right now is hearing me. And that was a beautiful platform, right, for up-and-coming MCs to come in and display. And I would write a new verse every week, and I was super nervous. So I had done that for about a year straight already by the time I met him. So I was used to rapping under pressure.
Right.
So when I saw him and was delivering it, it was just like I had so many raps in my head already, and I was freestyling, and I was used to delivering under pressure. So I was able to dynamically, I delivered it as best I could.
Yeah.
And he heard me. He heard me out, and he was like, well, you got a CD? And it's like, well, yeah, because I had CDs that I was selling in high school. I had my CDs ready. I had a bio ready. I had everything ready. And it's crazy because ever since I was 11 years old, single thing I had done so far had led up to that moment. It all happened. And it was like, yeah, I had the CD. I had this. I had that. And he followed through, but it took years after that. That's what people don't get. It wasn't like I rapped for him and that was it. I rapped for him and thought it was going to be like that. That's why I didn't go to school. That's why I turned everything down. And then I stopped getting a response from him. And then all my friends are in college. A whole semester goes by and they're like, man, you could have came to school. What you still at home? Like, what's up with Kanye? What's up with your record deal? Like, what's up? Like,
that's the hardest to hear.
That's the hardest. And I come from a family. My grandma's like, why aren't, you need to go to school. Like, this is the way to a better life. She grew up in poverty and made her way to that point, and she's like, education is the way. And it was the hardest thing to go against the grain, and my mom was really one of the only people who, even though she was a teacher herself, right, an English teacher, has her master's degree, she knew what it was like to have a dream, and she knew what it was like to chase it, so she believed, of course, education is important, but you can always go back and get it. You can't always live your, take that chance.
Can't do it the other way around, yeah.
So during that time period, for like a year and a half or two, what I did was, that was the first time I intentionally worked on myself. And I intensely would read these books and meditate every day and, imagine myself like living the life that I was, trying to live. And it just, I don't know how to explain it. It was like I felt like I was there. And what that did was it put me there. It really did. To make a long story short, it put me there.
What were the work that you were doing with that meditation and visioning? Because I'm sure, like you said, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because before, like you said, I was at the radio station. I was rapping live. I was nervous. Like what I find is that with yourself and stories like yours, there's manifestation, but there's also a ton of hard work in the background.
Yes, it is.
Tell me about that part of what were you doing in the background while you're meditating, you're envisioning, you're seeing yourself there. What's happening with rap music and music?
Well, one of the things that I would do in my meditations is I would put out let me attract the people, energy, places that I need to go to the next level in my career. Let me attract the people. And I would meet people. I would meet producers, and we would lock in and, who had a common belief as mine, or the same one. And I'm trying to get on as a producer. Like, you trying to get on, let's work. Right. And I would write things down. I treated it like it was a job. And also one of the things I had to put in perspective is that it didn't matter how hard I was working necessarily. It really mattered how smart I was working. I had a perception, it is hard work, you're right. But I had the perception that it takes hard work, until I realized that some of the most successful people I knew would work a couple hours a day and enjoy their life. It's flowing. And at the end of me and my mom, we grew up in debt, and she worked 2 jobs. And she was working most of her life. So it just didn't make sense to me. Early on, I'm like, it's not about working hard. It's about working efficiently and smarter. So that's one of the things I really learned at that age too. So it's a
big lesson.
Because a lot of the other people who I would see at studios, they would be like, man, I made 8 songs today. Like, I'd be like, well, I've been working on the same song for like a week and a half, but it's not about that. It's about the product. It's about what you're doing, and not about necessarily how much you're pumping out. You know what I mean? And that was something I really had to accept, because your ego will not let you accept that sometimes. We've been conditioned, right, to think all these things, and that's I feel like one of the things your book talks about. We've been conditioned to think a certain way. We've been conditioned to, we're given like a certain amount of guidance, options, directions. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to follow the line. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that. Hey, you guys got to do, our whole lives. And a lot of that is just, some of it's great, but some of it just doesn't apply to everyone, and that's one of the things I had to realize and redo my foundation of my whole life and be my architect.
Well said, man. That's beautiful. I love the way you've expressed that, because that must have been an uncomfortable place to live for 1 or 2 years. When you feel you're going to get your break, it doesn't happen. Your friends are now moved on. And everyone's...
And I'm still in the same bed that I grew up in. I was sleeping in a twin-size bed, man. I'm 18, 19 years old, you feel me? And it was so frustrating, and it was a test of my ego, bro. It was a test of my ego. But I would visualize Kanye reaching out. I just knew that it was going to happen. I didn't know how. And I was like, I'm going to make it happen somehow. And it did, bro. And it's like something you got to trust. Imagine you being on a cliff, and it's like there's no more cliff there, but you like, hey man, there's an invisible bridge. If you had a guidance next to you, like you had your higher self walking next to you, and you're like, bro, there's nowhere to walk. And he's like, I'm telling you, if you take a step, it's an invisible bridge right in front of you, and that takes a lot of faith to walk on that bridge. That you can't even see. But that's what I had to do because that's the decision I made. I wasn't about to go back to school at that moment. I wasn't about to go back to my friends and be like, man, y'all was right. Like, I messed up, man. I should have just, I couldn't do it, and that may have been my ego too, but I did let that motivate me. And that's just how it went, and then he did reach out.
Yeah. Tell us about that moment, how it felt internally around, were you like, oh, wow, this manifestation stuff works? Was that a point where you deepened your faith and belief in the invisible bridge, where you were like, oh, this stuff really works? Or do you think you already believed that it worked and it was just about trust? Or was this like a confidence point?
I had to trust it first.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to trust it first.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And that's the thing with everything. You got to trust it. And then it started working. Things necessarily don't work before you trust it. It's kind of like you got, I think that's one of the lessons I had to learn. I had to trust in me, trust myself, trust the process, trust God's speed. That expression is so popular for a reason. You can make all these plans. My grandma used to always be like, man, God, you make all these plans, God's going to laugh at you.
Yes. Yeah.
That classic saying. And she would say that to me. And so many sayings like that just means so much more now because it's true. That's why it's so popular. What goes around comes around. All these little things that we heard.
They're true. Yeah.
They're true.
Yeah.
So it's been a beautiful time. And when he did reach out, it was just, it felt like it was confirmation that trust wasn't wasted. It's all a higher power, right?
Yeah.
And that is guiding us and wants to support us.
Yes.
And does support us. Not wants to, does support us.
Absolutely. Did you ask him why it took him so long?
Nah, because I knew people who were like 30, 40 years old that never got their shot. So I'm not going to be like, man, it took 2 years. What took so long, But, and it was a process after that. And things, I'm not going to sit here and say life is smooth sailing.
Never.
It's not smooth sailing. It's like a constant unraveling experience, right? And things don't, it's so many times, bro, that things don't go my way. And I've done all the work and I'm like, why didn't this happen how I wanted it to happen? And then sometimes where I didn't expect things to do anything. And it turns out to be one of my biggest songs of my career, my biggest moments, or one of my greatest experiences, or things that I've like, okay, I put so much energy and power into this and then not do what I wanted it to do. Like, these are things that I go through on a daily basis, but I had to realize that it's all the side of life that I'm on is such a unique side, and it's the blessed side.
Yeah.
And that anything that happens to me, anything, whether it's all love, it's all beautiful, and it's something to be learned from it. It's something to be gained from it. It's, when you win something, you learn something. When you lose something, you learn something. You still win something.
Yeah.
You gain something. So it's crazy, man. It's really crazy.
Did you find that when you finally made it into the music industry, that there were people like you that meditated, that were visioning, that were working from this deeper core place? Did you find that, or did you find that your spirituality was almost threatened or questioned, or there weren't people seeing eye to eye? How did you feel about that? Did you find like it was still natural to stay true to what got you there? Because you had a very different journey in terms of internal journey towards music.
Yeah, I would see both.
Yeah.
I would see people. One of the reasons I wanted to sign to Kanye, because his first album inspired me so much.
Yeah, same.
And I can tell that whether he knows it or not, he clearly is a manifester.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly is a spiritual being too, or you could call it religious. To me, it's there are so many similarities, right? But he is somebody who is a manifester. He's somebody who's a creator,
mm-hmm.
right? He is somebody who I've saw him wield ideas from, the inspiration of God, or, whatever he can say it is. But that drew me to him, you know what I mean? And I've seen it in a lot of people. I've seen it, when I sit and talk to Jay-Z, it's like, I don't have to sit and like talk to him so deeply about it. I can just tell that he has this, there are a lot of people who I met, even DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
He's somebody who is,
manifesting for sure.
A manifester, and then his story is crazy. I don't know if you've ever talked to him.
I haven't. No.
His story is crazy, man. And, it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And we all have stories. And there are people who, like, those are people who you would kind of like be like, oh, okay, I can see that. But then there are people who I also have met, or even Janae, you could tell Janae is like very aware.
For sure.
And, somebody who is spiritually in tune. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I love about this conversation and all the people you're mentioning. I think we see an external PR version of who we think those people are on the front cover of magazines or music videos or whatever it may be. But behind everyone, there's a deeper story. It wasn't just like that. Tell us about when. I'm intrigued because I feel like a lot of people listening to us right now, they may actually feel blocked from that envisioning, right? They feel blocked. Like they feel like they're not getting. When have you felt blocked? Or if someone's listening and they feel blocked, what's blocking them? Like how do they remove that? How do they let go? What are they needing to let go of?
Well, this is deep, dog. You're getting deep.
I had to go there with you. You're giving me deep talk, so I don't want to, gotta dive in.
Well, one thing I've learned on my journey is that there are blocks that are sometimes placed on us from our parents or from our surroundings. And whether you believe this or not, I believe it is true, even from a past life. And it makes total sense because I've met complete babies who were like, this is like an old man sitting here, right? He's very mature, it's like, but anyway, I have worked with people who have helped me remove blocks from my life. Marie Diamond being one of them, and that's a whole deeper conversation. But she has, in the last few years, is someone who has helped, who has been a mentor to me spiritually and helped me along my spiritual journey. And, honestly, when I just think about the blocks that I've had in my life. So to go back to that, to think about people who are feeling blocked, know that you have to believe that you can feel unblocked, because you're giving it power by acknowledging like, I'm blocked. You're putting that out in the universe. Remember, like what we said, the sayings that people live by that you've heard, what goes around comes around, what you get is what you give. Those are real things. And you subconsciously, and that subconscious mind is just as powerful as the conscious one. When you say, oh, I'm feeling blocked, or man, I'm down bad. I've heard people just say all these things that they put on themselves, like, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. So, okay, imagine if you're in front of the universe and God, and he's like, whatever you say, I'm going to give back to you. Like, whatever you say, I'm going to give it back to you. So you sitting up here like, I can't figure it out, man. I can't make money. I can't do this. I can't do, I feel like it's like, even when I did feel blocked, and if I did think that, I never owned it. And I'd be like, no, okay, I got to switch that. I got to feel better. So the first key to unblocking something is acknowledging that you are blocking yourself for sure. And I do think there are some deeper blocks that you got to work harder on to remove, like blocks that may have not even been put there from you. So you're not even acknowledging it or know how to remove it. And there are special people who can do this, that can help you get rid of it. But I do feel like you're blocking yourself, and you got to realize that. Stop blocking yourself. It doesn't matter if you don't have money. Don't say you don't have money.
Yeah.
Be like, I got money. Money's coming in right now. Like, it feels good to be rich. If you keep that mentality and you're not rich, I promise you, if you really believe it, which you have to believe it because you just have to. If then and you will be whatever you want to be. And it's never too late to be who you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I used to have a mentor, I remember, he used to repeat to me the Napoleon Hill words of like, you become what you think about.
Yeah.
And he just keeps saying it to me, and he told me to keep saying it. When he first said it, I was just like, oh, come on. Like, you know, how many times are you going to say it? It's like a mantra. When I first became a monk and they introduced me to mantra,
Man,
you're saying the same thing every day, again and again, and you're thinking, oh, this ain't going to work. But actually what you're saying is true, that when you repeat, you become what you think about.
Yeah.
And when you keep repeating it, it becomes your vocabulary, it becomes your mindset, it becomes your thought, and then it becomes your reality. And you're spot on. I love what you said about being in front of God and you saying, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And God's giving you back exactly what you're repeating.
He's like, you're right, man, you can't.
Yeah.
All right, hey. Like.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, and that is such a great way of thinking about it as a conversation around how we're creating our reality through our repetition.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you about being a monk too. That's like when we have dinner next week. Some. But one of the things that made me think about this is when I would come home and watch Bob Ross on PBS painting the pictures, or when I would watch Michael Jordan and all these, or Kobe Bryant and all these inspiring people when I was growing up. Mike Tyson, right? Or just Michael Jackson, anybody that I can think of. I like our like artwork on the wall.
A few people you mentioned are up there. So yeah, there's a few.
But when I was thinking about that, it just brings me back to technique. How much of life is truly technique. And that is one of the biggest secrets I've learned. When I was going through one of the roughest times of my life a few years ago, I had just turned 30 and I was feeling so depressed, bro. And I had just moved into my house that I've been in for a few years in Beverly Hills, right? I got it from Slash from Guns N' Roses. You know, all of my neighbors are, you know, Vanna White is my neighbor. I'm like talking like, to me, this was like my dream. This is my dream neighborhood, right? And I was in the worst condition of my life, bro. I felt like it was just too hard for me to even get through the day. I felt like...
How did you get there? Why did it get there? After all of this envisioning, focus, inner work, how did it get there?
You know why I got there? Because I lost touch with it a little bit. Not just because of that. I burned myself out. I wasn't paying attention to what myself was saying to me. I was doing it for all different other reasons. I need to do this show. I need to do 5 shows so I can get this money, take care of this person, do it for this. Oh, my management, everybody is expecting me. I got these people. I got people who are on my payrolls. I'm like, I'm putting everybody before me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to balance work and work because there's a work that you do for your career and there's a work that you do for yourself.
Yes.
No one ever taught me that because no one knew. No one knew. You know, no one knew. Like, this is something that my dad didn't know. This is something my mom didn't know. Their mentality is you work as hard as you can. You work as hard as you can. So I come from a place where it's like, you got to keep the foot on their necks. You got to keep going hard. You don't want to lose your opportunity.
Yeah.
That was my thinking. But really, I had already had it.
Yeah.
You know, I already have it. So now to take it to another place, I got to take care of myself so I can bring my best self to the table. And it's something that life forced me to do. It's something that life forced me to do, man. And I had to stop everything I was doing and completely fall back, bro. Completely fall back from looking at things about me, from being online, completely fall back from all the obligations I had to do, performances, money I was losing. Like, it was just like I had to fall back from everything and take some time. And that's when I met Marie Diamond. And obviously I had seen her on The Secret. I knew about her. And my mom, taking one of her classes, emailed Marie Diamond and was like, hey, my son is a musician, this and this and this. And then she got an email back from Marie Diamond. My mom was freaking out. And Marie Diamond said, this is so crazy because my son has Sean on his vision board.
Wow.
And she was, I've never worked with a rapper, you know, I've never done anything like this. She's worked with big people, you know, big clients. But anyway, that was a serendipity, you know, that was a meant to be thing. And that came at a time right where I needed it. And I got into the technique of loving myself, bro. Bringing it back to the point I said earlier, when I would look at Bob Ross and Michael Jordan, it's all technique. So much of life is technique. What you do is technique, because you know, I had to get into the technique of loving myself. I had to really make sure that I put myself as a priority. My meditations came before anything. Me writing down my intentions, you know, every day or every other day, or, you know, writing my thoughts down, like that was a priority to me. Spending time for myself, being out in nature, right? Working. I started taking care of myself more, working out. That's something I never did. I gained 30 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to show like a before and after.
Yeah. We'll get it for this.
Crazy. I used to look totally different. It changed me for the better, and it's built my strength up. It's given me more strength to deal with things when they don't go my way. Before, it would tear me down. Before, I used to let people's opinions about me really affect me.
Yeah, same.
And now it's like, what am I even thinking right now? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's crazy how we can look and see a comment that's like, I love you, I appreciate you, you changed my life, amazing. Man, this guy sucks. And we'd be like, man, this dude just said I suck. I'm doing something wrong, you know? It's crazy how our mind immediately goes there because our ego.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe because something else, but I think it's just that ego.
It is.
Yeah. But I had to get into the technique of loving myself, man, for real.
But what I respect about you is it took courage to get there, but then it takes courage to go deep again.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it took courage for you to break through and get in front of Kanye and build your career, and then to be at the top and to be at a point where it's like, oh, wow, like there's so much opportunity, and to then go, oh, wait, I need to do the work.
I need to do the work.
That takes even more courage, because now you have something to lose. And I respect that a lot, because I think when I work with people and I meet people who are crushing it, it's like when you're crushing it and then you go, no, wait a minute, I still need to get this right. That shows an even deeper level of courage and insight. And the fact that you were able to take that step back, what made you comfortable and confident that you had to seek out help? Like, your mother was obviously sending this email to Marie Diamond. When were you like, okay, I need to find a coach, a guide, therapy, like open myself up to other ways to help? Because you'd done it fairly yourself and through books. But then all of a sudden it's almost like, oh, you
need more.
Yeah.
Because it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing journey, right? I had no choice. For me, it was, I couldn't get through the day without feeling terrible. And when you get to that point where it's hard for you to just do anything, you know, I knew my perspective was off. I knew I did. And I sought therapy too. You know, I saw a therapist. I was spiritually working on myself, and it was just the perspective, bro. You know, I used to look at things like, oh, I got to do this today. I got to do this. I got to do this podcast. Oh man, I'm like overwhelmed. But now it's like, no, I don't got to do that. I get to do it. I get to do this. I get to live this. I get to wake up, man, and see this. Well, you know, we lost Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
You know, my mom's best friend just died. I've lost people close to me, you know, and they don't get to wake up.
No.
You know, and they leave behind kids, they leave behind a life, right? And I almost felt like I was being selfish because I was not living in the moment. You're never living in the moment when you're thinking about what you have to do. You're only living in the moment when you're enjoying each moment, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned, dog, is like holding on to grudges. That's not living in love. You know what I'm saying? Like, love doesn't hold grudges. You hold on to grudges. Your ego holds on to grudges. Like, you got to just move with love and live in the moment. And when you do, everything is a pleasure.
Mm.
You know, even if it's a lot, even if you can't get it all done, even if you're like, I didn't even get to that today, it's like at least you're here though.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I love that switch of what you said from I've got to do this to I get to do this. That's a beautiful switch in the mindset, man. I think so many of us are always, I got to do this next. I got to do. I think that is such a great. I'm going to remember that forever. Like,
I hope so. I hope people really understand that, because even if you're down bad, to everybody who's down bad right now who's watching this, you know, who has no money, right? Even if you don't have even if you're homeless, right? Even if it's the worst situation, you don't have a cent to your name, but somehow you seeing this, just remember that this is your opportunity. Every situation is an opportunity, and you don't got to do more work than the next man. You get to do more work than the next man. You get to take advantage of your opportunity and see a spectrum that people don't get to see. You know, you get to live out the levels of life that, you know, people don't get to see. You know, people don't get to see the bottom sometimes. Some people are born into wealth and happiness, and they don't have to, you know, you get to struggle, you get to be stronger.
Yeah.
You get to lift that weight, and you know, you'll have strong enough muscles to climb the mountain and be the master of your life. So I'm letting you know, like, you got what it takes. You got it.
Yeah, I love that. And you get to be more compassionate and empathetic, because when you've been there, now when you rise, you're able to love and be compassionate to other people's pain.
Yeah.
Because you were there.
Yeah.
And you get more empathy. And that's such a gift in life, I feel, to feel compassion to that degree is a huge gift, because you've been there, you know what it feels like. And
that only comes from experience.
Totally. And to have that is a gift in and of itself. Tell me about you know, now where you at. Like, when we look at you now, like, you've given us a really beautiful deep dive into these moments on your story.
Uh-huh.
What are you visioning today? What are you working on today? What are some of those techniques for love? And I love that you use the word techniques. I think that's such a beautiful juxtaposition between technique and love, because people often think love is just fluid and fluffy and
right,
you know, but you're spot on. It's a science and a spirituality. It's both. It's strategic and sincere. It's both, right? Like, I feel we live in this world where I was talking about it with a friend today, and I was saying that the human mind needs to get better at entertaining the idea that two opposites or two things that you think are opposite actually is where the magic happens. Mm-hmm. So, like, when you say love is a technique, people go, no, love can't be a technique, because it just has to be, you know, pure and flowing. But actually, it starts as a technique.
Yes.
And then it transcends.
Yes.
Right? It starts that way. Tell us about some of the work you're doing today, internally and externally, that you feel is in line with what you're sharing.
Well, first of all, I'm like going through this cleanse right now.
Yeah.
Like this 4-month cleanse. That's
that a food cleanse, or?
No, it's a cleanse where you take certain supplements. You know, you're definitely supposed to eat a certain way. It's not a super strict, like, just berries or anything like that. It's just like, it's kind of like the diet that I already have, which is like, I don't do wheat, you know, gluten. There are times where I have no choice sometimes, and I even have enzymes that are like to help with that. But so it's, you know, it's not a super strict diet, but it's a diet where, you know, you stay in the guidelines.
Yeah.
And
I'm taking notes for dinner next week.
Yeah.
You let me know. I tell my wife.
Yeah. And anyway, Janae's doing this too. It's a cleanse, and my mom is doing it. A lot of people are doing it around me. 4-month cleanse. Mm-hmm. And you clean your gut and your intestines and your liver and your kidneys, and you clean out parasites, then the worms and all these crazy things that, you know, that's the stage I'm in now. Just started my 2nd month out of 4 months. And one thing I realized is that when you do a cleanse like that, right? I've never done one in my life. And I used to, I mean, at one point, especially in high school, like every night I was eating McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? I was getting that double cheeseburger. I was getting Taco Bell. I was getting Burger King, White Castles. Like, I was on it. That's just because it was just what we had.
Yeah.
I would be in the studio at my friend's house or re-recording in the basement. It's like, that's just what it was, you know? And I've eaten so much of that in my life when I was younger. So I was like, I really need to do this cleanse. So that's one of the things I'm doing now. And I do feel like when you do a cleanse like that, it also cleanse energetically some of that old you that you've been holding on to for years. You know? So that's
and you learn discipline, you learn, it's always like, I feel like there's a beautiful story that you just reminded me of from what you said. It's in a book called I think it's called The Zen of Archery. So it's about archery. And a student comes to an archery master, a Zen master who's also an archer, and goes, I want to learn archery. And so the master goes, okay, let's learn archery. So they draw a target onto a little piece of paper. They stick it on a tree. They make a little bow out of a twig and the string, and they give it to the student. And they give them a little arrow made out of a twig, and they say, go for it. And the person just starts like shooting twigs and they're missing. And then the master says to the student, what is your goal? Like, what's the goal? And the student says, my goal is to hit that target, the bullseye, to hit right in the middle.
Right.
And the master says, so you're telling me that your goal is to shoot a twig into a piece of paper? And the student's like, yeah, isn't that what we're doing? And the master says something beautiful. The master says, that's your target. The goal is to be calm enough so that you can hit your target.
I love that.
And what you just said now, like your target is to change your gut and purify and detox. But the goal is the discipline, the nourishment, that what you just said, like that's what you're really achieving in the cleanse. And I think we get the goal and the target confused a lot. We think that the target is the goal, but the goal is to be still and to be present. The target's just a way of getting to that goal. So I love that you're doing that. I need to join you on that. I'm big into gut health and realizing how.
Oh yeah, it's like your microbiomes and everything. It's like it has to do. This cleanse specifically has to do with that. And I
want you to introduce me to that person afterwards who's managing that.
I'm gonna tell you, Mama Myra, my mom, she's
the one.
She is a health. Everything I've ever done with health. Let me tell you another quick story about health, real quick,
please.
And then you don't have to include this if you don't want.
No.
I had a real bad injury on tour with my knee.
Right.
Went to the doctor. And the doctor was like, man, we're going to have to put screws in your knee. Your cartilage is completely torn down and your bones are rubbing together. I could barely walk. My mom was like, I don't accept that, right? So let's go to, this is the second time in my life. I'll tell you the first time. This is the second time it's happened. She's like, I found this place that does stem cell research. And this is how we got hip to the oxidation of the blood. What they would do is they would oxidize this blood, put it in wherever you needed it. Right, for me, it was my knee. And it would slowly repair the knee and then regenerate the cartilage with the stem cells. My cartilage regenerated in my knee 98%. 98% regeneration. This is not a game, man. This doctor told me I had to have surgery on my knee and put screws in my knee. And this was a more holistic approach. You know, this was a more of a Eastern, I guess, medicine. Alternative medicine. And the other time was when I had heart problems growing up. You know, I had heart palpitations and it got so bad that I couldn't walk from one side of the room to the other side of the room without being short breath. Your heart runs on electric currents. And mine was like beating like this. Weird, right? Anyway, I passed out in the shower, went to the hospital. They were like, man, we're going to have to put what's the thing? What is the shot?
The pacemaker.
We're going to have to put a pacemaker in your heart, or we can cut half of your heart open, scar it, and the electric currents will run through the scars. Man, I went to this doctor who is actually my doctor now in Michigan, one of the best doctors in the world, Dr. Brownstein. He gave me magnesium and a couple other things. He was like, make sure you take this magnesium. I go back a week later or like a week and a half later to get prepped for the surgery that we couldn't afford. And they test my heart and they're like, oh my God, your heart's fine. You know, they diagnosed me with the whole disease. They diagnosed me and said my heart, I had a diseased heart. And then when I got tested again, they were like, oh, your heart's really healthy. You have a strong heart. And I couldn't believe
how different.
I told them, like, all I did was take this. I told them, like, I took the magnesium, and they were like, no way. That's impossible. But it's like, people got to open their minds up a little bit more, right? And just, all of us. I've had to open my mind up so much in my life.
Yeah.
But, I
love hearing you talk about this stuff. I think it's great. I think it's great because I think people would externally just think, oh yeah, skeptical about this kind of stuff.
No.
And hearing you say it and you having real experience of it, what makes your mom sounds like the most amazing person in the
I'm
world.
not just saying this. You should interview her one day.
Yeah,
or maybe come over for dinner and talk to her.
100%. I'd love to. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, everything you've just said to me, the books your mother introduced you to, the people, like, I'm fascinated by her story.
Bro, we get lucky, right, with our parents. They say that we choose our parents.
Yeah, for sure. I believe that.
I chose the right one, for sure. Yeah. My dad is cool, too. Let's not get it confused. My mom is amazing.
Yeah.
My dad is amazing, too, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Just not those ways.
Yeah, different strengths.
Yeah, different strengths.
And different teachers for different lessons.
Yeah. A lot of personality traits I picked up from him.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, he's somebody who loves first.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't get. He's somebody who's open-hearted and very gentle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, where he had to run for his life and he would get beat up for being black, and he's dealt with a lot of pain and trauma. And one of the things that I inspired him to do was go see therapy, and that was one of the most emotional moments for me, because it was like, I know him and my Uncle John as black men growing up in Louisiana and all the stuff that they've been through. My dad told me he felt like I didn't know that, he was like, I didn't talk to you about certain things because guys aren't supposed to talk about certain things. We're not supposed to open up about that. As crazy as that sounds, right? Because it's different now.
Totally.
People are more comfortable talking about mental health now. People are, there are discussions. There are people who will relate, right?
Yeah.
But that really was a stigma. That really was
100%.
Something that you couldn't talk about.
100%.
And it messed him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still working on that right now.
Totally. Can you imagine holding it in for that long and not feeling you can share it and being told you're not allowed to feel that as a man? And there's a lot of toxicity that comes with that. Yeah,
and getting beat up.
Yeah,
He said he would run for his life sometimes, man, to make it past these train tracks. That's crazy, man.
That's insane. That's intense.
Yeah.
But that's something that it sounds like from your journey, you haven't experienced, like, that's not something that you've seen that through his experience.
Yeah, it's all in my blood though, right?
Yeah.
It's like my grandma's not with me anymore, but she was a female black captain in World War II.
That's insane.
Like, that's in my blood.
Yeah.
My mom's blood is in
journey.
me. It's all in me. My other grandma had to pick cotton. My dad's mom, she picked cotton for a job. And my granddad's aunt was born a slave. That wasn't that long ago.
Wow.
My granddad died when I was in the 7th grade. His aunt was born a slave. So that goes to show you it's not that far removed.
It isn't.
Right?
Yeah.
As I have on my Black and Proud shirt.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
No, but I love how you're explaining the story of your background and each person in your history. And you're spot on that, of course, they made you. So
yeah,
all of that is part of your story.
Yeah, just like your parents, you know what I mean? And just like everything.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Your ancestors, like, they are really a part of us.
For sure.
They really are.
For sure.
And I had to accept that they guided me, and that when things don't work out, it's because they are working out better than I could even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
When it doesn't go the way that I planned on it going, whatever it is, it's not that it's not working out, it's that it's working out better than I can even comprehend.
Yeah. If my plans worked out the way I wanted them to work out, my life would be lame compared to what it is today.
You wouldn't even be you.
No, 100%. I wouldn't at all. Like, I think about if my plans worked out the way I wanted them to work out, my life would be nowhere near as good as it is.
No way.
And that's the thing that we hold on to our little plans, and we keep chasing them, and we keep thinking that they're the only way. And so when a new opportunity or a new portal comes up, we're scared of walking through that portal. But that portal is,
I know,
our greatest journey.
I know.
And you've taken it, and now you're sharing it through your music. I read that Rolling Stone said your latest album was like a self-help book.
Yeah.
And I was thinking how amazing that your journey and study of so many powerful teachers and books and your own work and your own growth journey, your own purification, and now you're sharing it through music. Do you feel now that you're at a place where your music is allowing you to share all of that even more than ever? Or tell us about that journey with music, because your purpose is to change people's lives through music.
Yeah, my purpose is to inspire, through anything I do. Yeah. So whether it's music or a book, right, which I haven't written yet, but
it's coming.
I've been thinking about it.
You have to.
Yeah, it's something that I wanted to just look back on my life and be like, I did all I could in a moment when people, not just like me, but just people, whoever needed it, at least I said it. Because it's a lot of music out there.
Yeah.
It is a lot of music out there. There's a lot of music that sounds the same out there. There's a lot of music that sounds different too.
Yeah.
Because it's just tons and tons and tons of music. So I had to represent my mindset, at least at that point in my life. And I try and do that with all my albums, but on top of that, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching. I don't want to sound like I'm talking down, or I want to sound like I'm talking to someone. So I do have records that are fun.
Yeah.
Because I am I am not, nobody's perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me included. All of us, none of us.
Yeah. So I one of the things that I realized is that, okay, I got to make sure I have the balance of having fun in my music.
Yeah.
And my next album won't sound like my last one. The one before that doesn't sound like, the next one. It's always changing up. So it's like a picture, right? It's like you can like, okay, this one I'm gonna really paint what I'm going through right now. This one I'm just gonna completely talk about last night when I got drunk. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, it comes from all different inspirations.
I love that. Yeah, it was. I found that even, and you're reading Think Like a Monk right now, but when I was writing that, I wanted to share my weakest points as a monk.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not many examples in there where I share the best days. Yeah. I share all my worst days. Yeah. I share my worst meditation. I share my biggest criticism that I had of people around me. I share my worst train journey. Like in the book, I was like, I want to share the worst days.
Wow.
Because the big days are the easy days to share, when like I felt enlightened and when I had a moment. Like those are easy to share.
Right.
But to share, like, what, I used to wake up and I hated waking up at 4 a.m. Like, to share that felt like the right thing to share because of what you're saying. We all have bad days. None of us are perfect and have it all figured out. And
people relate to that, right?
Yeah. And also I feel like that's just the truth that we need to hear. Because like I was speaking to a friend yesterday and he was saying, I feel scared about my future and my financial future and this and that and whatever it was. And I was like, dude, I relate. Like, everyone feels like that. Yeah. Like there's no one and as soon as you hear that, you go, oh, okay, it's okay. When you hear that someone else feels that way, I know when people are going to listen to this, they're going to go, bitch, you felt nervous rapping?
Yeah.
Like when you hear that, that's, okay, it's okay to feel nervous and still do something.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel they have to feel confident to do something.
Yeah.
When actually most of us do things when we're nervous.
Yeah. And bro, I wake up still totally messed up sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel there are times where, I do feel very like down and depressed. My vibration is low, but I'm able to approach it and react to it differently. Yeah. And I'm able to not let it stick on me.
Yeah.
One of the things that meditation does for me, it's like when you work out or like do something, like go on a hike or something, and you take that shower.
Yeah.
And you just like are clean.
Yes.
That's what meditation does for me. It energetically, literally just cleans me. And I feel like I'm ready. It's like having a full charged phone. It's like I'm ready for everything now. I'm charged up. And
it's bathing your soul.
Yeah. And people have a lot of misconceptions about meditation. You have to understand that there's no wrong way to meditate. There's no wrong way. It's not wrong. Even if your mind races and you get better at bringing it back to your center, if you get better on focusing on your breathing, right? You can't do it and think you're doing it wrong because there is no wrong way to do it. You're going to get into a groove. The more you do it, that works for you because it's for you. It's not for everyone else. This isn't like something you get great. It's not like a math test. Meditation is a personal, moment that you share with yourself, and that brings you in the moment. And your mind does race, right? You think about things, you may visualize things, but you come back to the moment. So meditation for me, that's what it is, you know? And that's one of the biggest misconceptions. I go to these studios, I'm talking to like, anyway, I could be talking to Lil Wayne. I could be talking to I'll definitely be in studio sessions with people like my brother Wayne and being like, man, so you taking any vitamins or what's the, I'm not even playing and they look at me crazy sometimes, but it's just like, I do care. I love that. I love that guy. I love my brothers. I'm in the studio with Hit Boy, who's one of the greatest producers. Right. And, I'm telling, he's like, yo, help put me on. I'd be telling him what I'm doing. He's like, yo, I want to get into that. And there's no wrong way of doing it. I just want to put that out there. There's no wrong way of doing it.
I love that you're an ambassador for meditation. It's awesome seeing you talk about it in such a genuine way. And I love what you just said, that meditation is not a math test. I mean, that is the problem with the conditioning, that everything's a test, everything's right or wrong, everything's, and you're so right that you just have to let go of that. When I'm sharing meditation with people, often I find that, especially if they're musicians, it's like they want to get the music right or the sound right. But it's free of that. Like meditation is, I'm tone deaf and, and I can't sing to save my life. I love music, but I can't sing to save my life. But meditation's beyond that. It's beyond the mental, verbal capacities that we have. But
it is. And that's one of the things I do, write stuff down. Yeah. Since 2019, though, I've also been like, let me do one thing every year that's going to change my life.
Ooh.
You know how people have New Year's resolutions? So in 2018, that's when I started really taking better care of myself, right? So I was like, 2019, my number one goal is to take care of my temple, take care of my body, take care of my mind, body, because it's connected, right?
Absolutely.
So I was like, I'm going to work out, and I transformed my body 2019. 2020, and by the way, I keep these one introduction of something new every year. I keep that in my, my daily practice.
Yes.
It's a habit at that point. I create these new habits.
Yeah.
And 2020, it was like, okay, I want to put all these things into this album. That was my number one priority. I want to create something for people who really need this right now, right?
Yeah.
And while doing all the things I kept from 2019, 2021, I've been taking voice lessons.
Wow.
So I've been taking voice lessons with my vocal coach, Peter. And because I realized that not only first of all, I listen to my old music and my voice has changed so much.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, my voice has been getting stronger, right? So I'm going to strengthen my voice because I can harmonize. I can sing, not for real, but I do feel like I have a voice that's hidden in me a little bit, right?
Yeah.
To not only sing, but when I strengthen my voice, I also feel like it strengthens my voice figuratively. And even so, I started that in January this year, and it's been helping me a lot. It's just been strengthening a lot of other things, because really your voice, this is this chakra right here,
for sure,
has been getting strengthened, you know, and this chakra, which is your, your solar plexus, and it's just been strengthening here for me, you know, and meditation really strengthens here for me, and it also strengthens my roots, you know, my root chakra.
Yeah.
My third eye chakra, my crown chakra, you know, a lot of that. But I needed work on my throat chakra, you know, my heart chakra. You know, that's another thing that I've had to work on. So that's, that's just one of the things I'm doing.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, first of all, I'm feeling very grateful and humbled for the generous time you've given me today.
Yeah, I've been having fun.
I'm feeling totally, I've learned so much, and I feel so inspired just sitting here listening to you speak and hearing about your journey in detail. I mean it. I'm being honest. I genuinely do. And Homer knows I don't say that all the time. So, he can vouch for me for that.
Yeah.
But I mean that because I can see how much genuineness and how real this journey is for you. And hearing about your mother has blown my mind, because I'm thinking, wow, what a mother, to have that.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
It's really beautiful and special. But we end every one of these episodes with a fast five.
Okay.
You may have seen Janae do this. So this is final 5 questions where you have to answer it with 1 word to 1 sentence maximum.
Gotcha.
So it's tight, and
it's tight.
You're dropping the bars already, so it's easy. It's easy for you. All right.
Yeah.
So the first question for you is, what's the best advice you've ever received? It can be a sentence, of course.
Experience. It's the best advice I've ever received is experience.
That's a great answer. We never had that before. I love it. Okay, what's the worst advice you've ever received?
You know what, Jay?
Yeah.
It's like I block it out.
Yeah, you don't even remember
I don't hold on to it.
Yeah.
I've gotten terrible advice so many times. I can't even remember.
But you can't even remember it. I love that. That's a great answer, man. Yeah. We're good with that.
Okay.
Question number 3. What's something that you know to be true, but you feel other people might disagree with you on, or they're not there, like they don't fully get it yet? What's something that you're so sure about, but other people would not really get it?
I can make a list. Meditation.
Yeah. Mentioned past life before.
Ancestors.
Yeah.
Guiding you. Past life. Blocks. Removing blocks.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's good. Yeah. Question number 4. What's the biggest lesson you learned in the last 12 months?
The biggest lesson I learned in the last 12 months. You can't kill your ego.
Tell me more about that. That's something we should talk about.
People always talk about ego death, and you can't kill it. Why would you want to kill a part of yourself anyway? You have to just know how to work with it and how to treat it. People always say your ego is the most childish part of you. But then I also hear that children are the most spiritual beings because they have no restrictions that have been set on them. They're just purely right from the source, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be a connection between the two. And I think your ego is an unfiltered part of you that is easily affected and very emotional and very sensitive. And it's something you should embrace.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to get rid of it, lock it in a room. You embrace it and recognize it for what it is. And when you do, and when you nurture it in that way, I think it won't be as dramatic of an outlash and as damaging to you. If that makes any sense.
That makes sense to me. Sometimes, well, when I was listening to you, what I was thinking about was sometimes your ego just needs a big hug. Like when you just embrace it.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, and I don't feel ego from you today, you know, from the moment you walked in to meeting my team. And, you know, it's like, I don't feel a sense of arrogance or bravado in your presence at all.
Thank you.
Which just shows that you've just embraced it. You get it there. And I like that. That's what came to my mind when you were speaking. And also when you were talking about children, I was thinking, we want to become more childlike and not childish. And I think that's what you were saying there, like being childlike is great. Like childlike is like fresh, new, but being childish is like tantrums and, being,
being childlike is like not putting any ceilings on yourself,
Yeah.
One of the things that we do as grown-ups is like, oh, that sounds a little crazy. When you're a kid, you're like, man, I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah. I'm going to climb that tree.
I want to do this, I want to be, and it's like they do it. To their capacity, but that's something we lose when we grow up. So I love that childish versus childlike. And that's the same as being selfish and self-care.
Yes.
And I used to get those confused. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like I probably I burnt myself out as far as like trying to do too much, is because I thought that it was selfish of me to be like, oh, I need to take time for myself.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this work I need to do, I'm going to get a massage tonight. I thought that was selfish of me, but that's not selfish. That's self-care. That's self-love. And you got to know the difference between the two.
Absolutely.
Selfish is when it affects the people you love or people around you or certain people in a negative way, right? You're doing something for a wrong reason, but when you're just taking care of yourself to be better for those people, then that's self-care.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great definition, and I just hope everyone who's listening and watching to this, I hope you're taking notes, because that differentiation can actually change your life. Because when you give up your self-care in the short term to think you're being selfless, then in the long term, you end up having to be selfish because it pushes you back that way. So you're spot on that we have to, and I can relate to that so much, because there was a time in my life where I was just extending myself to others. And I used to think that getting a massage, eating well, eating on time, all of that stuff was bad. And now it's like I realize, well, I can't give myself, or I'm giving people the worst leftovers of myself when I haven't taken care of myself. I don't want to give the people I love my leftovers, but that's what I'm giving them because I've drained myself. So I love that differentiation. All right, fifth and final question.
Okay, I forgot we were doing.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I asked you. You were following the rules, but I was like, when you said that we have to kill our ego, I was like, oh, okay, I want to know. So that was good. It was good. Right. Fifth and final question is: if you could create a law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
To not judge. Not to judge, because here's the difference. Everyone has an opinion, right? And that's fine. And I remember just going to church and people being like, only God can judge you, right?
Yeah.
But we are all humans, and when we judge each other, it brings us down, man. It traps us, right? It's like, and what you put out there is just going to come right back to you.
Absolutely.
It's like a double-edged sword. So you're judging somebody like, you messed up, you wrong, this is not good. What are you doing? Like, this is not good. But that's coming right back to you, whether you know it or not. And it could be different ways, right? But to me, you can have an opinion, right? And that's a thin line too between an opinion and judging. But judging is when you go out your way to make somebody feel a certain way, right? And that's something that's become so accustomed to our society, is we judge each other when really I don't even know if we have the right to judge each other.
Totally.
You know, we're all made in the image of God, right? And I don't know if judging each other is productive necessarily. You know, I just don't think it's productive. I think that it's time that you could have spent on something else. And if you don't like something that's different, you don't have to comment on it. You don't have to judge it. You could just be like, cool, like, you know, and
let it go
and put the energy on something you like, you know, let it go. Or I think when you bring somebody down, though, you're bringing them down, but you can't bring anything down without going down yourself. It doesn't even make any sense.
Absolutely. Everyone, big Sean, thank you for doing this, man.
I can't wait to come back. We got to do like a part 2.
I know. I mean, I can carry on talking.
No. We can save it for another time if you like.
No, this has been amazing, man. Like, just hearing you share your heart and your genuine purpose with us today. Like, I've loved every bit of it. It's been so inspiring to me.
Man. And, I loved it too.
And I've learned so much. And I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I recommend that everyone goes and listens to this again and takes notes, write stuff down, because there are so many gems in what you shared that can be truly powerful for people at different stages of their life, because you just walked us through the hero's journey. And your journey, of course, still continues, as you know, but there's so many parts of that. And I want to ask you, though, is there something you wanted to share today that you feel I haven't let you share, or that you haven't had an opportunity to get through? Because I want to get there. I don't want to prematurely, you know, give up. So
no,
if there's something on your mind that you're like, oh, I feel like I need to share this with people.
Well, I do want to just share that I go through terrible days. I go through dark moments. I go through great days. I have great moments. And, you know, it's not like I figured life out. You know, I don't think anyone on this earth has ever figured life out all the way.
Agreed.
And I don't think it's for us to figure out. You know, maybe there are other purposes for it, but I just want to put that out there and say that, you know, you're not alone. Like, whoever needs to hear that, like, you're not alone. You know, obviously Shetty got you. I got, like, we're all in this together. And but, you know, I just want to end on that and just say that thank you guys for listening. You know, to anybody who needed to hear this, like, I needed to hear it myself. You know, everything I said is because it was on my heart, that needed to be expressed for you and for myself and for whatever other reason. So thank you.
That is a beautiful note to end on, and 1,000% I'm in for a part 2.
Yeah, gotta do part 2.
I'm all in for a part 2. I could talk to you for like 2-3 hours, and I could listen to that voice. I could listen to that voice for hours. So, you know, it's like but honestly, like, what you just said is so perfect and exactly what we all need to hear. And I don't think you shared your story with any sort of perfection or with any projection of you having it figured out. I could hear that sincere seeker inside of you in every step. So I think you shared it beautifully, man. Thank you so much.